Hey everyone, it's Nicole again. Sorry, my voice might be a little funny. I'm a little sick right now, so gonna try to go through this kind of quickly so I can get back to resting. So I am going to do my December wrap-up. I'm a couple days late. I had someone visiting over the weekend, so I wasn't able to film a video. But I'm gonna go through the comics and books that I read, and then quickly run through the movies that I watched this month. So the first comic that I read this month was Moon Knight, and this is written by Jeff Lemire, who people might know from Sweet Tooth. That's his most popular one. So he's an artist and a writer, but this one he just wrote the story. And this is kind of a spin-off story of Moon Knight, who is a Marvel superhero, and he is like possessed by like an Egyptian god, I think. Basically, he wakes up in an insane asylum, and everyone is telling him that he's not really Moon Knight, and his name's Mark Spector, that Moon Knight is just a person from his imagination. And then I have a couple of single issues that I read this month. So first we have issue 8 of Monstress, which was really, really good, and the series is getting really great. And then I also read issue 40 of Saga. Can't talk too much about it because it's pretty far in the series, but... And then when I was at the comic book store picking up those two, I saw this, which is a super sports special of Tank Girl, and apparently there's like a new series of Tank Girl called Tank Girl Gold that I didn't know about. Tank Girl's like one of my favorite comics. This is issue 2. Apparently they're sold out of issue 1, so I couldn't get it. But it's just like a silly little spin-off series. And this one has like a mad parody on the cover. Basically she invents a new sport, and it's really funny. And then I have 2 graphic novels that I read this month. The first one is Nodaway by Joshua Cotter, and this is a science fiction graphic novel. So basically, there's the new thing called the internet, which is basically a telepathic internet where everyone kind of uploads their consciousness and you can kind of share information through that. And there's 2 interconnected stories. One is the scientist who's kind of working on the internet and trying to fix some problems. The other one is a man just kind of wandering through the desert. And this is a series of 7, and this is the first volume. And the last graphic novel that I read this month is probably my favorite graphic novel of the whole year. Maybe my favorite book of the year. I really liked it. And that is 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg. And Isabel Greenberg has another book called The Encyclopedia of Early Earth, which I never read, and I never heard of it somehow, even though it sounds like right up my alley. But basically, this is kind of a alternative version of Earth, a retelling of 1001 Arabian Nights, where there are these 2 lovers, Hero and Cherry, who are trying to stay alive by telling stories for 100 nights. And I'm going to move on to the actual books that I read this month. The first book that I finished this month, I don't have it with me because I listened to it as an audiobook, and that is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, which I think that trilogy is called the Grisha trilogy. I think most people know what that book's about. I didn't really like it that much. I really like the audiobook. This is like one of the first audiobooks I've ever listened to, and the narrator was really great, and she actually made me like want to like keep listening to it, even though the story was kind of really stupid and it was just her talking about how she wasn't pretty and it was so boring. But I loved the narrator, and I like might listen to the rest of the trilogy just so I can hear her, because it was really nice to listen to at work. Yeah, but I really liked the beginning of it when it was more of the military aspects. I thought that was really interesting. The next book I read is Dawn by Octavia Butler, which is the first in it has like a couple different names for the trilogy. This one I have is a bind-up of all three, Dawn, Adulthood Rights, and Imago, and it's called Lilith's Brood. But I think it's also sometimes called the Imago trilogy, maybe. But basically, this woman, Lilith, the world basically ends, and she wakes up in some sort of weird room, and basically aliens have taken all the remaining humans and put them on a spaceship, and they want to merge their human genetics with the aliens are called Awankali, I think. And I didn't hear it out loud, so I think that's how you pronounce it. But basically, they want to merge their genetics in order to keep the human race going on, but they want to make them better. And so Lilith is kind of in charge of the remaining humans that are going to be sent down to Earth. It's Lilith learning about the aliens and becoming friends with them, and then she has to wake up the humans and kind of tell them what's going on and make sure everyone gets along. I thought it was really good until the very end. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but everything falls apart basically, and just the way the aliens viewed consent was like really annoying, and there was just like really weird sexual things going on. Yeah, and it was just like really difficult to read, but it's a good book. I think that's like all of Octavia Butler's books. They're really hard to read. So I don't know if that was because she was writing about a difficult topic or it wasn't good. I'm not sure yet, but I definitely want to read the rest of the trilogy. I'm just taking a little break right now. The next book I read is this giant MirrorMask script, and it's an illustrated script of the movie MirrorMask, which is by Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean. And I like Neil Gaiman a lot. He's not my favorite author, but Dave McKean is probably my favorite artist ever. He's so good, and MirrorMask is this weird little movie about this girl whose family runs a circus and her mother falls ill, and basically she starts she does all these crazy drawings, and basically she like goes into the world of her drawings to kind of deal with her mother's illness. And this is definitely a story that we've seen before, but it's one of my favorite storylines, so I don't care. And it's just a really unique style he has. And the movie was actually made with the Jim Henson Company, so there's lots of cool puppets and stuff. They kind of were making it as like the new Labyrinth. It didn't do that well, but it's a really good movie. And my boyfriend got this for me for my birthday like a couple years ago, and I have looked through it a little bit, but the other day I just kind of sat down and was reading it all, and it was fun to just see all their little notes and see how things had changed from the actual movie that they had made. And the next book I read is an ebook, and that is the poetry collection Graffiti by Savannah Brown. I got this knowing she was a YouTuber, but I think I thought she was a different YouTuber because I actually am not subscribed to her channel. I was mixing her up with someone else, but I was like, oh, I already bought it, so might as well read it. I was a little disappointed because everyone has been hyping it up a lot. Maybe it's because I haven't heard her read her poems, but I think if you have a poetry collection, you should just be able to read it and enjoy it without hearing it. I liked the illustrations a lot, which aren't even done by her, they're by this other guy. And I thought a lot of her poems worked really well as children's poems, because she does rhyming, and I thought she would do really great writing a children's book, but I think when she tried to talk about more adult themes, it kind of fell short. It just felt a little childish. But the ones that were aimed at more simplistic themes, I thought worked pretty well. And the last book I read was an Armenian sketchbook by Vassily Grossman. And this is a nonfiction memoir, like a travel memoir he wrote towards the end of his life. One of his books, I think it was Life and Fate. Basically, the Russian government was like, you can't publish this, and we want you to like leave, but you can translate this Armenian novel that's like already been translated. So he went to Armenia to meet the author and just kind of learn more about Armenia. I thought this was a really neat travel memoir. I've actually never read any of his books. I thought I had, but I was mixing them up with someone else. A theme of this month, apparently. But it was really funny, which was surprising. And yeah, it was just cool to see him traveling through Armenia as a Russian guy. And yeah, just his kind of observations. And he was also pretty sick when he wrote this, so he has a lot of kind of musings about life too, which I thought was interesting. So I didn't see too many movies this month. The first movie I watched this month was Barry Lyndon, which is a Stanley Kubrick movie, and they're playing a bunch of Stanley Kubrick movies at a theater near my house. So this is one of his lesser known movies, and it's like 3.5 hour long, which I saw like 2 3.5 hour long movies this month. But this is basically about this guy's entire life, starting with when his dad dies in a duel, and I think it's in the 1700s. He's in England, and it's just his life. He like joins the army and then leaves the army and becomes like a gambler, and it was really funny actually. And then we watched Sleepy Hollow, which is a Tim Burton movie. That's like a Halloween movie, but we decided to watch it in December because neither of us had seen it. And it's basically about the legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is the Headless Horseman. It was pretty bad. We didn't like it. I love the like Disney short about Sleepy Hollow. But this one was just like really weird, and it was just like trying to do too much. And the next movie I saw, it's not from this year, but that's Children of Men, and I think it's from 2006, and it's based on a novel. I think that's also called Children of Men. I'm blanking on all the names, but I'll link it below. And it's basically about a future where women aren't fertile anymore, and society is kind of crashed because of this, and it's about all these people that are kind of trying to form together and survive. And the filmmaker does it in this really interesting style. He does a lot of really long takes, and kind of meandering the camera, looking at other things, so it like really feels like a documentary, which is really scary. And I feel like even though there were like some fantastical things like women not being able to give birth anymore, it feels like that could be our society soon, which is pretty scary, especially because it's 10 years old. But it was a really great movie, and I definitely recommend that one. And then I watched Rogue One, which I liked, but it wasn't the best movie. That's a new Star Wars spin-off, if you guys don't know. I thought the cast of characters was pretty fun, but I don't know, it just kind of fell a little flat. And I know the ending had happened, but it made me sad, so that's why I didn't like it. And then we watched Hunt for the Wilderpeople, which is a film by, I think his name is Taika Waititi, and he's a New Zealand filmmaker and an actor. And this is his newest movie. I think it's either from last year or this year, and it's about this little boy who's Maori, and he's been kind of floating around different foster homes, and he's kind of a bit of a troublemaker. So he ends up with this couple who lives in the bush, and they just kind of fend for themselves and like hunt wild boars and stuff. And it's about him kind of living with them, and then something happens, and they, him and the dad kind of go into the bush and like try to survive. And it was really funny and cute and just like a really nice movie, a nice adventure movie. And then the last movie I saw this month, I saw a couple days ago, and that was Lawrence of Arabia, which is a classic film, and I'd never seen it before. It's about a real guy, T.E. Lawrence, who basically, he went to Arabia during, I think it was like right before World War I, or like right after, and he just kind of like joined with the Arabians and kind of helped them, but then he like went a little crazy. This is another movie that was 3.5 hours long, but we saw it in 70mm at this beautiful theater, and it was so beautiful. It was a really great movie, and it was like really scary how nothing has really changed like in the Middle East. Like everyone, all of the military strategists were saying, oh, like, we're just trying to help them, the Arabians, and then we'll just leave. Like, we don't have any motives in the Middle East, but they were totally lying. And that was over 100 years ago, and we're still just like, just in a different place doing the same thing, and it's really annoying. I definitely recommend seeing this movie if you haven't seen it already. If you can see it in theaters, it's the best way to see it. Thanks for watching my December wrap-up. Sorry I'm sick. Hopefully I'll be better soon. But let me know what your favorite book that you read this December was, and if you've read any of the books that I did. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.